Today on the bestseller portal and across a number of social media platforms, we're going to be talking about leadership, processes, and system. Now, what all of this has to do with the success or failure of a business. In the event that you're asking yourself this question, I want to encourage you to stay with us because we are going to be going deep into this analysis to really help you to understand how leadership processes and systems can either push you forward in business or pull you back. Now, to help me in studio today, I have one of my colleagues, and his name is Clement Frank. And Clement Frank, he is an economist by profession, and he's a leader by practice, and he's soon to release his new book. Hi, Frank. How are you keeping?
Good to be here. Good to be here. I'm fine.
Awesome. I trust you had a wonderful weekend.
It, it was fantastic.
Okay. I just trust that we had some more days in the week and more hours in the day.
You know?
So I could have definitely get some. Yes, my brother. All right. The life of a leader, huh?
Yeah, that's what it
You
is
just
all about.
gotta you just gotta roll with the punches, right?
Yes. If you can't, you're not fit for this.
You got it. Talking about rolling with the punches, today we're gonna be looking at leadership processes and systems. And I want to start today's conversation by looking at a very new concept that we have introduced that we call proactive leadership. And we believe, as a rising star in business, knowing the tools and skill sets of the proactive leader can really set you up for success.
Yeah.
Now, what exactly does proactive leaders means? It means three things. It means that as a proactive leader, you have been trained to think ahead. It means you have been trained to see beyond problems. And it means you have been trained to take informed action to achieve targeted results. In the context of business, when we talk of thinking ahead, the success of every business means that you must have essential human resources. You must have essential technical resources and essential capital resources. And these are things that you must think ahead about. The research has shown that many businesses fail largely because you did not think or you underestimated the need for human resources. And when there's underestimation in this regard, you set yourself up to go through hardship and struggle in business. All
Mhm.
right. So it's important to pause and recognize the importance of having human resources and human technical resources to move your vision forward. And just let me get a little bit technical on this. Now, there are human resources, and then there's human technical resources. And let me give an example to this. You may hire someone to get a job done, and that's necessary to do that. But in cases when we are looking at technical issues like access to markets, like access to capital, sometimes it requires some technical skills in this regard because not every human being can help you to really diagnose the market. It requires technical skills, skills like collecting sensitive information about the ideal client, the market. It's about analyzing that data. It takes a special skills to analyze the data to us to deduct information, and it takes a special skills to be able to use that information to innovate products and services. So, if within your human resources you don't have some of these technical skills, the business can suffer. You see, to build a business is not just to say, I want to produce products or I want to provide services. Whatever products or services you're going to be bringing to the market, you want to be certain that it is relevant to the market. And to establish relevant, it means that you must have the market intelligence. And that collecting of information is very technical information that you're going to be collecting. And it makes sense to have a technical human resources or a human resource that has the technical skill to collect, analyze, leverage, and mitigate market intelligence to help you to make the best decision in business. All right. So I just want to point this out. So emphasis has to be placed on this. Technical resources can also reflect many other things, like, for example, capital resource. You may have an accountant in the organization. You may have even have your sales specialist in the organization. But are they able to provide technical capital support to the organization? This in of itself is a special technical skills. And I'm going to be brief on this before turning over to Frank. Again, when we talk about technical resources in the context of capital, and as a rising star in business, you need access to capital. You need this technical skill. Why? The technical skill is not only necessary to understand financial markets, because, but even in this case, it's necessary. To understand financial market means that you understand the capital market mix. An understanding of the capital market mix as a technical player means that you can make an informed and educated decision as to which financial instrument is best for your business based on the stage that you are at in the business. And let me give an example of this. Being able to access capital doesn't mean that the capital that you're accessing is right for you. You see, as a rising star in business, you are still breaking through the know, like, and trust. You're still breaking through the, confidence, trust and credibility. You're still breaking through the visibility, reach, and impact, and client conversion and cash flow optimization. You're still breaking through all of this. And because cash flow may not be where it ought to be, the possibility exists that because you have these overheads, you may not be able to reach your monthly debt obligation. And with debt capital, in the case that you take debt, you will have monthly debt obligation when it comes to debt financing. Perhaps debt in this case is not the kind of financial instruments that you should be using. However, there's what is known as business credit. And with business credit, you have deferred payment on your APR. For example, you may have deferred payment for 6 months, or 12 months, or 24 months. And perhaps this is the instruments that best suits you based on the stage you're at with the business. But again, because you don't have the technical resource to help you navigate this, you simply know that you need capital. You don't know the right capital that you should be attracting or going after because you don't have the technical human skills. And there's so much more for us to get into. But I'm going to pause here for now, and I'm going to turn over to Master Frank. And I know that he will talk to you a whole lot about, leadership. All to you, my friend.
Hi, morning. I want to
Come on,
be
sir.
real this morning when it comes to leadership and failure.
Yeah.
And we find that leadership failure can stem from a variety of causes, which are often interrelated and complex. And some common reasons why leadership can fail is lack of vision and direction. That's one. Because Leaders sometimes fail to provide a clear vision or the direction, which leave their teams without a sense of purpose, without that sense of goals to strive for. And this lead to confusion. It leads to a lack of motivation. So to avoid that, one has have to have that direction, that goal setting, so that they will not fail. Another thing is poor communication. My communication is more than just talking. It's about your body language, about your correspondence that you write. So when you're ineffective, it can result in misunderstandings. It can result in lack of coordination, and there's becomes a disconnect between the leader and the team. So clear, transparent, and consistent communication is essential, excuse me, for the successful leadership. Another thing is that a good leader knows how to adapt, but the failure in that, which is the inability to adapt, because the leaders are rigid and they're unable to adapt to the changing circumstances, the changing environment. Man, the business landscape is not static, it's dynamic. And so you will have a constant stream of changes, and you have to be able to adapt to those changes. And if you're unable to, that's where your business can fail. You'll always have new information, right? Feedback. How do you strategize this feedback? And so the strategy that you have when you start a business and the approaches that you took to the business will become obsolete in no time because of the changing dynamics of the business environment. Some leaders lack empathy and emotional intelligence. So if you as a leader do not understand or care about the needs, about the emotions and perspectives of your team members, you can fail to build trust. You can fail to build loyalty, which leads to, again, low morale and high turnover, attrition. Another thing is those leaders who micromanage. You are overly controlling and don't delegate. You don't trust the team. And this can stifle creativity, it can stifle initiative and productivity. Eventually, it creates a toxic work environment. Nobody wants to work in that situation. And then you have ethical failures. If you as a leader behave or get engaged in unethical behaviors or fail to uphold a strong moral standard, it can lose the respect, it can lose the trust of your team, of your stakeholders, of the public. And what about losing investors? Then you feel in your decision making skills because it's inadequate. Because poor decision making, whether due to lack of information or poor judgment or indecisiveness, can lead to ineffective strategies and operational failures. If you fail to develop and empower others, after time you sizzle out. Leaders who do not invest in the growth and development of their team members, they miss out on the potential to build a strong, as capable, and a motivated workforce. How do you react to feedback? Do you resist feedback? Is there a resistance to feedback? And if you as a leader, you're unwilling to listen to or act on feedback from your team, your peers, superiors, you would have missed a critical opportunity for improvement. And then you can become out of touch with reality. And this other point, where I want to talk about is burnout. And as leaders, we go and we go and we go and not stopping to take care of ourselves. And if you do not manage your stress level and your workload effectively, what happens eventually, you become overwhelmed. And this can negatively impact your ability to lead effectively. And they set a poor example for your team. What can you do in this case? Take some time off, and you can take that time out to get with your team when you go on a on a application, and not just as plot vacation, but a vacation where you're showing them, hey, this is a time when you take time off for yourself. You're going to have a picnic this weekend, or middle week is not bad either, and just regroup and come again strong. You'll see what a difference it will make to your psyche, to your mental and emotional intelligence. Hmm? Another thing is, I always like to talk about a culture. What is a culture that you have created or started as a leader? And if as a leader you do not prioritize building a positive and inclusive and collaborative organizational culture, it can create an environment of distrust, competition, invalid competition, and of course it ends with dissatisfaction. So when you're addressing these issues, it involves continuous learning, it involves self-awareness, it involves a commitment to personal and professional growth. So effective or sound leadership is about being adaptable, it's about being empathetic, proactive in creating a positive and productive environment. Thank you, Gary.
Frank, you made a number of great points. On the last point that you made, the competitive environment, perhaps we have to look at it some more and develop some talking points. Because as you mentioned that, I'm thinking, should the environment be competitive or should it be collaborative? And in some organization, it could be very, very competitive, where high performance are given incentives
Mhm.
instead of you having a collaborative environment where the high performance tools and techniques permeates throughout the organization. But
And Gary, the thing about not cutting it, the thing about it is that when you have a competitive environment, it does not do well for your mental health
mm,
because it brings on an added stress. And when you have mental stress, it don't affect just mental, the whole body. And
mhm,
as such, it extends to colleagues and peers. You snap at each other. And
yeah,
that's what makes the creates a culture, a toxic culture. And that's what you
mhm,
try to get rid of. You need a positive culture.
yeah, I agree with this. There, I need to bring up back some data that I would have had. There is this engineer. I think he's out of the UK, and he spoke very extensively, or he speak very extensively about the collaborative economy, and he see the need from it from the time you hit, college and university, all the way into, workplace and into life. But we'll talk about that some more as time progress. But you also made a number of other great points. You talk about communication skills. I do believe it's vital because in leadership, leadership for the organization, I see it at three different levels. I see it at the strategic, tactical, and operational level. And if there's not proper policies and systems, um, there's going to be bad communication in terms of information filtering from strategic, tactical out to the operational. And that ultimately affects the quality and consistency in terms of how products and services is delivered to the ideal client. That definitely will have an impact on the ideal client. So I love those points that you would have made. You also mentioned things like adaptability. It's so important to be adaptable in a competitive environment because you're right. Things are changing rapidly, And if you are not flexible enough to be adaptable, guess what? The change is going to overwhelm you. And very soon you may find yourself being obsolete in the market where you have products and services, but because technology, because human development has become advanced, you are not there. So you're pushed out. I spoke about this some time ago. You know, at the pace of which technological advancement is being taken place and other advancements is being taken place. If you are complacent with where you're at, you're going to find that you're going to wake up one day and you're actually in a box. Walls has been built around you and you're in a box. And it means that if you're in a box, you could be run over at any time because you're not in control. And that's the last place that you want to be in business. So those were some very great points, Frank. I
Yeah.
want to come back to say this. You know, as a rising star in business, the leadership uh, concepts that is being shared, you need it. You need to also understand processes and you need to systemize your processes. You're going to fail as like a star in business. You will fail if you do not understand, what is leadership. You will fail if you don't have strong processes, and you will fail if you don't have proper systems. So it's important that you take the time to really understand what is being discussed here with you. So, what I want to do also is to go a little bit more into some leadership issues that you should be looking at. Now, you're starting a business. That business that you're going to be starting is going to be doing two things. You're going to be providing a product to the market, or you're going to be providing a service to that market. One of the leadership tests that you have to overcome is to first of all take the time to identify who is your ideal client. All right, take the time to identify who is the ideal client. And I want to emphasize this because what I've seen is that many rising stars in business, you get into business and you don't have a clue who's the ideal client because in your mind, you are targeting everyone. And I want to say that it's impossible. It's impossible to build a product or a service to target everyone. It doesn't work like that. And perhaps you have this notion that your products and services are for everyone because, again, you don't have the data that tells you what are the facts, and you don't have the technical resources on your side to really help you to understand what are the facts. Now, why is it so important as a leader to really understand who is the ideal client? Who is your avatar? It makes sense because your ideal client, they have certain unique characteristics. And it is those unique characteristics that you want to know because you can then target products and services to satisfy those essential characteristics that the ideal client has. But if you don't know them, all right, you cannot innovate in alignment, products and services. You cannot innovate with more clinical precision. And the inability to do this is going to undermine how that business in of itself is going to cash flow. Now, think about this in this way. Let us suppose that there is a large lake of water between two landmass, but there are people on both sides that has products and services that each side wants. Now, what are the common denominator between these two persons that wants to do business, but then there's a massive water mass. You can't get across the water. So what data is saying to you? Data is saying to you that if to help these persons, they would need a bridge, depending on how large that water mass is, or they would need a boat. All right. So the data says that if you are able now to provide a bridge or a boat, guess what? You are now able to attract these persons to pay to utilize your innovation. But remember, I'm talking about people. It may not be every person's going to be using the boat or the bridge. You're going to find the merchants are going to use the boat and the bridge. So when you have the market intelligence tells you who are the ideal client. It tells you what are some of the specific needs and wants and expectations that they have. And what a great leader does, the great leader that innovate products and services based on the established facts. And that in of itself really sets you up to make impact with the ideal client. And because you are now able to make impact, you are now able to convert them into clients. You're able to, maximize disposable income because you're able to do this, and you have a successful business. So they always say success leave clues. The big question you want to be asking yourself as a rising star in business is what clues are you using to make informed and educated business decision? And as a leader, these are things that you must be thinking ahead about. Remember, I said earlier, in the context of proactive leaders, you want to think ahead of the business processes. You want to see beyond problems, and you want to be able to take informed action to achieve a desired end result. So I'm going to talk briefly about informed action because very often, because the time that we spend, we don't get to go into informed action a whole lot. But I just want to spend some time talking about this today. The facts are showing that a rising star in business, many of you don't have all of the information in which to leverage to your advantage to move the business ideas, the vision behind the business forward. And what informed action allows you to do is to achieve all of the objective. But it's important again for you to understand exactly what I'm saying when I say informed action. Informed action is not just saying, okay, I need to access capital, I need to access human resources, and you start to move towards that because you may attract human resources, but it may not be the right human resources. So you simply attract, you took action, and you get human resources to function in the organization. Or you may take action to, you know, get capital, and you raise capital, and then you recognize that that capital is not the capital that is best suited for you. You took action, but it wasn't informed action. No, informed action means several things. One, that you invest the time, the talent, and the resources to become the subject matter expert in the field that you're going to be taking action in. Let's take, for example, Frank. Frank is an economist. And there's a lot of things that Frank can do as an economist that the average person can do because he has technical knowledge. He has technical skills in this regard. So he's going to tell you about, elasticity of demand and inelasticity of demand. And that might sound like a foreign language to the average person. But to understand elasticity and inelasticity of demand is an essential economic concept that you need to understand. Now, he would be able to take informed action that is going to save him time, is going to save him money, and is going to definitely reduce any stress level that the average person is going to get because you have technical know-how. Now, you may not be the technical person having this knowledge, but guess what? Guess what? Because of that, you're not going to be able to take informed action. Frank can take informed action. So, one, you can become a subject matter expert. So, whether it's in economics, whether it's in public relation, whether it's in marketing, whether it's in project management, you can put yourself train yourself, expose yourself to a body of knowledge over a period of time where you become a subject matter expert. So you know that the action that you're going to be taking is going to give you the high reward, the measurable results, the predictable outcome with the highest degree of accuracy. And there's where you become an expert, a master doing what you're doing. But as a rising star in business, very often you are not there. If even you may have some skill set, you may be a great visionary in business, but then you are not the expert in market access. You are not the expert in capital access. You're not the expert in human resource management. So you're not able to take informed action in all of these areas. So that brings me to the next point. You need to get mentors at the strategic level of your organization. And why do I say mentors? Because mentors and coaches, guess what? They're coming in with a level of expertise that Frank may have because they have been doing mentorship, they have been doing coaching, they have been doing leadership for decades. All right. So when you have this type of human resources around you, either working with the organization or as subcontractors to the organization, they're able to help you to make better, smarter decisions that can save you time and can save you money and can save you from going into stress. All right. So the ability to take informed action is largely based on the principle of you being an expert where you have the knowledge base or you connecting with subject matter expert that has this knowledge base so they're able to help you to move through the process faster. All right. And what we provide at our organization is largely based on helping you to be able to take that type of action to advance the growth of your business. On the point of access to capital, because we know businesses are struggling to access capital, guess what we have done? We have built out an ecosystem where in the United States, we are now able to help businesses in 50 states to access capital. So, as a rising star in business, whether you are looking for debt or whether you're trying to get access to equity or access to credit or creative financing, we can help you to access that. So, what we have done here, we have helped you to take the guesswork out of attempting to access capital. We have taken out, you know, you wasting time going after the wrong capital because when you come to us, we have the expertise within that will sit with you, that will analyze where you are in terms of your business and really work with you to help you to understand what are the best financial instruments for you. And then we are now able to put you in contact with the institution leadership that will say, okay, these are the steps that you would need to take to attain it. Let me break down this financial part just a little bit. I often say that debt instruments operate different from credit instruments, and credit instruments operate different from equity instruments. And just let me try to break this down just a little bit. And this is what informed action allows you to do. You see, what are the pre-qualifications to access debt? And what are the pre-qualifications to access credit or equity financing? You see, the average person would know that capital exists, but does the average person really understand how to access the capital? And you need human technical skills on your side that not only is capable of saying that capital exists, but you have the human technical resources on your side that can say these are the steps that you need to follow to consistently access the capital. All right. And consistently maintain this cost of capital because a lot can go wrong even after you access the capital. Because in the developed world, when you access capital, but you mismanage your FICO score or your paydex score, guess what happens? It affects the annual percentage rate. Because when you access capital at one time, perhaps the APR might have been 5% after 6 months or 10% after a year, whatever that is. But your FICO score at that time was 720. But because of mismanagement, guess what? 720 become a 580. And because your FICO is dropping, it's going to affect now your APR. So when it comes to paying annual percentage rate, the APR is going to be bumped up, which means you're paying more for the capital. But do you have the technical resources that literally can help you to take informed action to manage this process to prevent it from happening long before it happened? Only recently we talk about the master chess player. Chess players, they have is a special skill because they're not thinking one move ahead. You know, when we talk about thinking ahead in proactive leadership, we are not talking about taking one move, ahead, one move at a time. But you're thinking all of the move that you need to navigate to achieve the targeted end results. And that is the whole premise of being able to take informed action. You have done this 1,000 times, 1,001 times, and know, the impulse of what you're doing. You understand what you're doing, and you can literally, predetermine the outcome. So, taking action as a great leader, you want to build yourself up so you can do this. And even when you can do it, you still need to surround yourself with other critical stakeholders that is going to be able to do things that you may not be able to do. Because managing an organization is a very dynamic entity. All right. Managing a business, you need dynamic human resources to be able to influence that process. So, regardless of you being a subject matter expert in your field, you still need to have team dynamics who may have skills that you don't have. And it's about bringing this collage of talents together where you have multiple subject matter experts at the strategic, tactical, and operational level of the organization is what's going to really set you up for success. All right. The pathway to attract them is a subject that we will talk about later on because the best and brightest is not going to come to work for the average person. It has to make sense to them before they consider doing that. So, in conclusion, I want to say this: in starting and scaling the business, you really want to sit and ask yourself, what is my organization chart looking like? All right. And am I able to attract leaders to my organization chart that can really help me to take what I call informed action? Think about this, that you have built out your organization with, great leaders, great thinkers, and each one of them are coming to the organization with essential information that can fast track the growth of your business. What do you think is going to happen to your organization? You're going to grow tremendously faster. So when you see myself and Frank on our team, we're sitting here talking is largely because we want you to have the right information. You're going to fail because you're not thinking about these things. You're going to fail because you're not connecting with people that can help you to take informed action. And myself and Frank and our team, our network, we're here to provide that type of technical support for you to ensure that you win in business, you win in life. Frank, all to you, my friend.
I got thanks. Well, and as Gary said, we're here to help you, especially in those times of pitfalls. Um, Leadership failure. can be a devastating blow to a company. And most companies take active steps to avoid leadership failure as far as possible. But the reality is, even a competent leader can fail sometimes, as the effectiveness of leadership can be significantly impacted by what we call external factors like your work environment, an economic decline, and organizational culture. But the primary cause of leadership failure are external and internal factors. And the first step to avoid leadership failure is to understand the causes of failed leadership. Firstly, the causes of leadership failure, when divided into external and internal factors, let me tell you what external factors, they are difficult for a leader to control. In theory, all internal factors can be in the leader's favor, and they can still fail due to external factors. While flexibility in a leader can be a protective factor, some external factors can be too significant to overlook. For example, if there's an economic collapse, what can a leader do? Internal factors that can lead to the leadership failure, I said before, is include poor communication skills and too much pressure on leaders and their team. Now, these are usually factors that a leader can control. Let me put some training and development. This might be protective factors against internal failure, but are not fail-safe methods. In order for you to understand why leaders fail, we have to explore the main warning signs of failure. Knowing what the warning signs are might enable the businesses to support leadership failure by intervening. So, what are some of the warning signs? 5 warning signs I'll talk about is the first one is failure to form a functional and effective team. You see, a lack of cohesion among team members is a primary reason why, many organizations fail. And teamwork is especially difficult when are in a business. And furthermore, when a functioning team is lacking, it opens the door to various contributing factors that can lead to project failure. And problems related to ineffective teams go beyond the team's performance and can cause long-term problems in a business. Team members need to feel respected and valued to function optimally. As a leader, if you have poor listening skills, you see, aside from efficiency, a trait that a successful leader must always possess is that ability to listen to their teams. Because when an employee feels heard, their experience in the work environment greatly improves, and team members can quickly become unmotivated if they feel undervalued, if they feel unheard. You need to communicate, sir. Listening skills are only part of the communication spectrum, and successful leadership relies on the entire spectrum. Communication is key to successful management. Then, if you're taking problems personally and failing to take responsibility, that's a demonstration of poor management. Demonstrated pride can make it difficult for someone in management to recognize when they are on a road to failure. Now, when the leaders are very stressed, they may struggle to take responsibility for problems. They might resort to coping mechanisms like the blame game and setting the wrong expectations for the teams. And when a manager starts to stumble in this way, intervention from the board and a higher level management can be an effective way to combat its effects, but it's not always possible. Another thing is misunderstanding the goals of the organization. You see, the business goals should never be taken for granted. And many leaders make the mistake of not fully understanding the business goals of their organization. And this will lead to leadership failure, as teams cannot fulfill goals that they do not understand. Even a motivated team will struggle to flourish in an environment where they do not entirely understand what the main business goals are. Leadership failure has a lot of impact because it can lead to poor projects, project results, or an overall lack of success. Mistakes can become more prominent, and leaders start to lose their grip on those important details. The employee morale can decline as decision making becomes less transparent, goals become unclear. So appropriate initiative is not taken, so expectations are not reached, and then employees begin to feel undervalued when leaders fall. Furthermore, and I'll close with it, the impact of failure is usually felt at various levels of an organization. You have large staff turnover, and that's a common result of leadership failures, which can mean a lack of appropriate skills in certain departments and can mean that the organizational culture is not effectively felt across all departments. The workforce motivation levels can decrease, and employees will likely not be productive where leadership has failed. And furthermore, revenue revenue goes down, and the business will then lose clients due to poor service or or return on investment, which is the ROI. And lastly, it can take a very long time for the company or companies to recover from failures in leadership because a lot of time and effort has to go in building a team back up and ensuring that new leaders do not continue on the wrong path. Thank you, Gary.
Um, Great points again, Frank. And based on what you would have said, there's two things that came to mind. One is what I call positional leadership, which is the position that you are in as a leader, might be top, middle, management. And then there's the next one that I want to look at briefly is what I call the state of mind in that position of leadership. But I'm going to come right back to that just now. And I just want to share some information. If you're in the US, 50 states, and you need access to capital, I want to encourage you to reach out to me, reach out to us. We would be happy to help you to access debt, equity, credit, creative financing, or hard money lending to move your vision forward. Our team players has allocated millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to the business community to really help them to achieve their business financial objectives. And we would like to help you accomplish the same. So, regardless of the state that you're in, any of the 50 states in the US, you need capital, reach out to me, contact me on those numbers shown on screen, and I would be so happy to help you to navigate the financial pathway. Along with this, I want to come now to the Caribbean. Guyana is one of the fastest growing countries in the world. Yes, literally one of the fastest growing country in the world. And we're connecting with a lot of movers and shakers who are in the economy. And because they are major players in the economic development process in Guyana, they now want to provide an opportunity for you to be part of that economic boom. And you can be a part, one, if you have certain skill sets. For example, you may be a pharmacist technician, so you understand something about the pharmaceutical industry and you want to be, part of a dynamic organization. In the event that I'm speaking to you and you want a new career as a pharmacist technician with a very dynamic organization, I want to encourage you to send your CV to this email. All right, send your CV to the email shown on screen, and someone will get in contact with you and set you up for the interview and ensure that you are gainfully employed in a very dynamic organization that very much care about you and your future. So if you're a technical, person in the field of a pharmacist technician, I encourage you to use this email. Along with this, you may be 30 and above or younger, but dynamic and focus on what you want to accomplish, and you have an interest in marketing, you have an interest in sales. There's also an opportunity for you to be part of this dynamic organization. So, in the event that you are in an organization, but you're not necessarily happy, or you're at home and you want a career in sales and in marketing, I want to encourage you to prepare your CV and send your CV to the email shown on screen. That is Health Global Healthcare Supplies Inc. at gmail.com. Send the email and you can be part of an organization which is literally an extension of your family because of the community that you're going to have there. Now, I want to come back to a point that I've made early on. Early on, we are talking about leadership. And leadership is so important when you want to position yourself for success in business and in life. But leadership is not only about the position that you're holding, leadership is about the mindset that you are bringing to that boardroom. And why do I say this? Proactive leaders are constantly thinking ahead. Proactive leaders are constantly seeing beyond problems, and proactive leaders are constantly applying and deploying themselves to take what we call the informed action to achieve the desired results. Now, when Frank spoke, he spoke earlier on about, you know, leadership from the standpoint of internal and external factors that can compromise a business success. And that is quite true. You have man made disasters that can disrupt the business practice, and you have natural disasters that can interrupt the smooth running of your business. The role of the proactive leader in the positional leadership is going to be largely be reflected on the mindset. All right, the mindset, your abilities, your skill sets. And why do I say this? We have seen many natural and man-made situations occur, and many leaders were caught unprepared in their response to the man-made or natural disaster. How do we call that? Is that proactive leadership or is that reactive leadership? Now, there are some organizations that withstand the challenges that took place. And as a good leader, what is necessary for you to do in shaping the right mindset is to ensure now that you have collected the information in terms of what those leaders would have done to withstand both natural and man made disasters, and they still triumph because of their leadership style. Again, this is why we emphasize great leaders don't wait until a situation happens and then respond. Great leaders don't react to a situation. Yes, there are cases that you may be called to react, but great leaders proact. And here's where I want to point out some opportunities to to proact. You know, in 2021, the world was faced with a global epidemic. And perhaps, in the last 20, 30, 40 years, the world never faced this. So everyone was surprised. But let me say what? There are a lot of lessons that leaders can learn from what took place then. And those lessons that are learned, guess what? Moving forward, if something like this is to happen again, those leaders will be more prepared to deal with this natural or man made disaster. So, leadership is not only about the position that you're in, great leadership is how you leverage in that position to ensure that you're building out the cushion around the organization. So, when shocks take place, you are cushioned enough to withstand them. Now, there are several things that I can say in this regard. As a leader, you don't have to know everything, but your leadership style should be leveraged in such a way to ensure that you have some of the smartest, brightest people around you that represent knowing everything that needs to be done to navigate rough terrains. An organization is not about you alone as a leader, but it's about who you surround yourself with at the strategic, tactical, and operational leadership. So, part of what this would look like is that as a leader, you don't have to know everything, but then you have a risk management specialist that can anticipate risk based on economic reality. So you have Frank talking about economic historical data, and you have the risk mitigation specialist say that every 5, 10, 20 years this occur. How do we prepare for it? The leader now is to ensure that you have all of these brain power in the room and you are think tanking this, you're brainstorming this, and you are predicting what is likely to happen, and you're ensuring that you have the right systems in place to ensure that you have the cushion. I'll go deeper into all of this as time progresses, but leadership is a very dynamic role. All right. Leadership doesn't necessarily mean in all cases you have all the information, but you're smart enough to ensure that everybody at that table is coming to make significant contribution to ensure that you attain the competitive edge, you maintain the competitive edge, and you become a trendsetter in the way in which you're thinking. So we're given a lot of information on these platforms. We're giving it away free because we are humanitarian, we are servant driven leaders. So just think about this. If we're giving you all of this free, when you come into our master classes, what do you think is going to happen? We're not going to give you the same information. We're going to give you the same information, but so much more to drive the success of your business. So I'm going to pause here now and I'm going to turn over to Master Frank. All to you, my friend.
Thank you, buddy.
And we're going to
Uh,
start to wrap up just now. But just before you wrap up, also, I want to also hear about your book, but leave that for last. Go ahead, make your contribution.
all right, let me wrap up by saying that for all I've said, I close up by saying, how can you identify a bad how, to identify, how can you identify bad leadership? When you're failing to take responsibility for your failures, that's a usual bad sign. Furthermore, when a leader does not respect the needs of the teams or struggle to delegate tasks, and they often lack another leadership skill as well. And bad leaders also do not usually process through empathy. Well, it's not uncommon for a bad leader to have an autocratic leadership style, although no single leadership style is universally bad. However, autocratic leaders may struggle to listen to advice or even to accept suggestions. So when a workforce lacks motivation or there is a general sense of negativity in the business, there's a strong chance that there is some bad leadership in place. So you need to avoid becoming a poor leader. And the first step to being a good leader is to understand your team, be able to build on their strengths. You need to remember that anyone can be a great leader in one company and a bad one elsewhere. A lot depends on company culture and an ability to connect with a team that is already in place. Now, people usually have a balance of leadership qualities, some being bad, others being good. But you need to maintain a healthy balance that is true to the environment the person finds themselves in. And that's advantageous. It is difficult for people to identify their own negative qualities and even more difficult to alter their leadership style. And if you're listening to the team, it becomes essential as this can give a person enough insight into improving their style significantly. And luckily, the skills required to lead can be developed and improve over time and throughout one's career. So avoid becoming a poor leader. Listen to your team. I- 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 I know for me, it's not easy to always take criticism, but you just got to suck it up and take it. And humility is what counts in the end. Be humble enough to take correction. The humility will cause you to become the greatest leader that you can be. Have a blessed day. Thank you, Gary.
Great share, Frank. And I love that, you have to be thick skin to deal with criticism. And I think when you're getting constructive criticism from an organization level, it's a good thing because it's telling you that you are not necessarily the smartest person in the room. All right. And I think in an organization to really foster growth and development, you need to have, multiple talents, multiple skill sets that perhaps see things from different perspectives. Um, Great points. But Frank, can you talk to us a little bit about the book that you are about to release?
Yeah, the book is all about song leadership in today's dynamic world because we're living in a dynamic business world, especially after COVID, when the COVID pandemic. And so it speaks to every leader, whether you're a leader in church, in politics, in the school system, public system, public government, or private sector. There are a lot of benefits for you as a leader. And I've alluded to this in the talk that I just had. The best or some leaders can catapult their business into a stratospheric place where you can become the top 5 company in the world. But you have to listen to your team. You have to be humble. You have to show empathy. And so this book speaks to all that that will make you, even as a politician. And we know everybody looks down on politicians, but I'm of the opinion that there you have a few good ones. I think so. I think there's still good ones out there, and forget about things. They talk about lawyers too who like to lie. And it's amazing that a lot of lawyers go into politics, but on a serious note, the book will be beneficial for any person reading, and it's in simple language, even for the person who is whose English is a second language. And so once it's out there, I know it's gonna go like hot cake. So get in line, make sure you get your dinero ready so that you can purchase that book.
All
So
right,
in a
Frank.
nutshell, the book is what all leaders should be reading.
Yeah. When you set up your pre-purchase system, let us know because persons can actually purchase the book before the book comes out.
Yeah, they
And
can.
so when that process is set, let us know.
Yeah.
All right. So leadership processes and systems, you rise and fall on leadership. And I'm happy that Frank has decided to write that book, now about to release that book that's going to help you to understand more about essential leadership style to succeed in either public or private sector and in your life. Leadership is vital. Again, as I said, leadership is not only about you having all the information. Yes, you can be a subject matter expert, But great leaders surround themselves with people who are smarter than them in their field and people who are definitely smarter than them in fields outside of their skill sets. You need to have sharp minds around you. And what great leaders do, they leverage this talent pool to achieve their specific objectives. And on this platform, we will talk to you a whole lot. Not only talk, because talking may be the theory, we're going to set you up in the environment where you have also practical know-how, how to apply it. And we are doing this with a number of international partners. And we were inviting you to make contact with us in the event that you like what we are talking about today, leadership processes and systems. If you want to benefit from some of the programs that we're offering, I want to encourage you to get in contact with us, get in touch with us. We will be so happy to do that consultation, get to your organization, either physically or virtually, and ensure that we can help your business to be set up to leapfrog. Again, I want to repeat this. If you're in the US and you need access to capital, 50 states, we can help you access the capital, debt, equity, credit, creative financing, or hard money lending. Now, if you're in the Caribbean, Guyana is now the fastest growing country in the world. And who don't want to be a part of that? So you may be from the Caribbean, you may be in Guyana, you may be a pharmacist technician, and you may also be an expert in marketing or want to learn more about marketing, and you want to be part of a very dynamic organization. Here is an opportunity for you. If you are young, ambitious, dynamic, and you want greatness for yourself, I want to encourage you to, take note of the email that is shown on your screen. And I want you to prepare your CV and send a job application to the email shown on screen. This organization is dynamic and they truly care about people. And I'm certain that you coming on board, you're going to definitely know that you're part of your extended family. And above that, there's a lot of things that are in place to ensure that you not only achieve your professional career aspirations, but a whole lot more are in place. So prepare that application, send it out to this email, and you can be part of a very dynamic organization that truly cares about you. I want to come back to Frank. I want to thank Frank for always being with us and sharing his knowledge. It's always a pleasure hearing Frank dive into leadership. Leadership is so important in the world today.
Mhm.
You're dead without leadership. So whether we are talking leadership from a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint, from a political standpoint, leadership is so important. Frank, I'm waiting for that book, perhaps on uh, empathy and political leadership, and let us see how
Mhm.
that goes. With that book. But with that, I just want to thank you for your time.
Yeah.
And yeah, my brother. And on Wednesday, we do this again. Wednesday, we're going to be looking at big ticket money habits. You don't want to miss Wednesday. Wednesday at 7 a.m. EST. I encourage you to tune in, invite your friend. So you're going to be learning so much more
Mhm.
about how to position yourself to become that big ticket thinker and position yourself to build wealth. Frank,
Mhm.
thanks
All
again for
right
being
then.
here today. And
Okay.
it's on Wednesday.
All right. See you
Bye.
later.
Yeah, my friend.